Griffith? Is that you? Oh my god! If the Berserk manga isn't peak fiction, I honestly don't know what is. Berserk has blood and guts and blood. It's a grimy, grim world with giant swords, hordes of monsters, and legendary storytelling. The writing that goes into Berserk is phenomenal, as some of the most entertaining, interesting, and worthwhile dialogue I have ever come across. And I'll admit, I can be a bit of a skimmer at times when it comes to reading manga, so if the author has not grabbed me by the balls and sucked me into the story, I have zero shame admitting that I will skim straight through until I find a section that I actually care about and is actually worth my time. It takes an immersive series for me to pay attention and lock in. Maybe I do have the attention span of a morphed guts fetus, but that only goes to show just how high my praises are for this absolute journey of a story. I am amazed at just how comfortable it feels to call something like Berserk peak fiction or a masterpiece. It just feels right after witnessing the dragon-slaying carnage that is Berserk. I love almost everything about this series, from its poetically scripted monologues to its heavy, demon-murdering violence. Berserk features main characters like Griffith and Guts. Griffith brings a heavenly, otherworldly vibe, and the main protagonist, Guts, also known as the Black Swordsman, is one of the greatest examples of a main protagonist who goes through hell and back. The contrast here is that Guts features a much more human side, a raw, unfiltered look at violence, pain, death, love, heartbreak. Guts really experiences all the extremes that life has to offer. The highs, the lows, and most of the times are the lows, so it only makes the highs that much more impactful. What makes him such a compelling character is how he deals with these experiences and his mentality to keep pushing forward with a durability that is nothing less than inspiring. Without diving into a full analysis on his character and this iconic legend, the initial appeal of Guts comes from his violent, brutal battles with a range of enemies, humans, beasts, and whatever the this is. Before I ever read Berserk, I had a wild preconceived idea that this was a love story between Guts and Griffith, and that Griffith was actually Guts' girlfriend. And luckily, the story is nothing even close to that. When people mention Berserk, they always talk about the story, the characters, but most importantly, the artwork in Berserk is just so iconic. It is legendary. It has inspired countless series, animes, manga, video games. Some people don't value artwork as highly as storytelling or characters or dialogue, but Berserk will change your view on the value of art in a manga forever. From a design standpoint, I don't know if there is a more iconic series than Berserk. You could go without reading a single word from Berserk, and I guarantee you that you'll be able to understand everything that's happening, from the details, the plot, and that's coming from the tone that they display, the emotions, the vibe, but you can really just sit back and relax in awe of every panel's masterful artistry. That is, until you come across some of the most disgusting gore and overall disturbing sexual acts. That's right, Berserk is not for everyone. If you can't handle very adult themes, very uncomfortable moments, I would say consider pushing through, but also be advised because Berserk does not pull punches here. You get exactly what you expect from the title alone. Just like how JoJo's is truly a bizarre adventure, Berserk is, well, it's Berserk. It ranges from dramatic and tension-filled as it gets to over-the-top violence as giant human-sized swords slicing the heads off hordes of fodder. The thing about the series is that it's one of those that you won't want to put down once you become invested. The highs are astronomically high, and there are some of the most memorable and impactful moments in fiction. But Berserk really stands the test of time because of how well-rounded every aspect is. The characters feel real, the conflict is not forced, it feels natural, and is very intense. And I'll be honest, the average chapter of Berserk is better than the best episodes and chapters of many other series. You are getting consistency of quality every single time. Themes that are intersect and are deeply explored. Characters in the series are pushed to the absolute brink, testing their own moralities, boundaries, and forcing every character to ask the real questions and face their most vulnerable experiences and insecurities. And let's be blunt here, if you like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Sekiro, you will like Berserk. I often find myself questioning how the did this man draw this? And I don't just mean from a skill standpoint, I'm also talking about the perspective of the dark and twisted mindset you really have to be in and tap into when you're coming up with these designs and these creations and this entire story as a whole. The creativity process for creating Berserk had to be insane. I think it's fair to say that Guts is the best main protagonist that you'll see in a manga. Sure, it could be debated, but he's definitely up there. And aside from Guts, there's also my other personal favorite, which is the witch Sheercape, which you'll see down the line. She's a great character, amazing design, and she just brings a different vibe to the series. And let's not forget the mysterious Skull Knight, who speaks like a Shakespearean deity. Berserk's female character range is a pretty vast one. You have characters like Casca, the beautiful warrior, but then on the other spectrum is a little known character that goes by Farnese. And Farnese introduces us to a very common trope in storytelling, in manga, in anime, in cartoons, and TV, and that is, oh, I cut my hair, that represents me leaving everything behind. I finally changed, I'm a new woman, and I am here to stay.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Farnese is a different breed of freaky, man. Let's take a midnight stroll to the heretic hangings and see if I can pick myself a young, attractive, muscular man to torture and burn to a crisp. And I would say this a little bit on the crazy side, but for Berserk, Farnese is a typical, everyday walk in the park. And I know, we're making fun of the Farnese symbolism, but Berserk is one of those series where if you like to analyze, dissect, you could go on for months, maybe even years, just looking at the symbolism, the contrast, the parallels between the characters. You could write full-on essays studying the themes alone. Simple things like Guts having short black hair and Griffith having long white hair. The aesthetic designs and the storytelling, they always feel so intentional. The little character nuances and the top tier characterization. We continue to see Guts progress and change and grow as the story continues, but the emotion coming from his reactions always make it feel real. And you often have a mercenary man running on 2 to 3 hours of sleep, mind you. No bang energy drink at his disposal, so he is just clouded mentally, frustrated, quick-tempered, easily angered, and his patience is just oftentimes nowhere to be seen. But I do like the idea of pushing the main character to absolute insanity, and Berserk handles this phenomenally well. I am not the biggest Griffith stan like many other people are, however I will say that he brings such a necessary and captivating presence that even when he's not around, it still feels like he's impacting the story in some way, shape, or form. Another amazing selling point to Berserk is that you have these long-lasting sagas. You have the Golden Age arc, which is as top tier as it sounds, and then my personal favorite, which also sounds crazy, the Millennium Falcon Saga. I could praise Berserk all day. You can find plenty of people on the internet who do nothing but jerk the series off like it's a second coming of Jesus himself. But the reality is, and I cannot stress this enough, Berserk is not for everyone. So now it's time for a few disclaimers. If you're ever going in completely blind, I would heavily suggest starting at the Golden Age arc. Now if you do want to start from the very beginning, which is not chronologically the beginning, you can start from chapter 1, which spoils and changes the perception of many of the biggest moments in the series. And 2, if you've had any negative sexual experiences of any kind, I would truly make sure you can handle this, because there is a ton of graphic and gut-wrenching scenes. It's the only aspect of the series that I truly do not enjoy. And finally, we are talking about the manga. I do not recommend the storm that is the Berserk anime, but the one thing that I will respect is the soundtrack, and trust me on this one, go listen to it while you're binging the series. Phenomenal OST. So if you are getting into manga or you just want to get into Berserk, there isn't a series I would recommend more. If you're looking for a series that has a much better manga counterpart in comparison to the anime, you don't have to look very hard. And for all of you Berserk fans checking out this video to validate your own opinions, let me know in the comments, what are your favorite aspects of Berserk, your favorite moments, characters, and your personal connection to the series. And if you do want to recommend Berserk to your closest family, friends, or foes, I would recommend this video. But one even bigger piece of advice, under no circumstances, do not let their first impression be this.